To begin with the big push by Democrats to take over the only branch of government they do not currently control, and that would be the judicial branch. Today, Senate and House Democrats introduced the Judiciary Act of 2021, which would, of course, expand the Supreme Court from 9 justices up to 13, ending the Supreme Court as we have known it for more than 100 years. Here's Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, one of the sponsors of this bill.
We are here today because the United States Supreme Court is broken. It is out of balance, and it needs to be fixed. Too many Americans view our highest court in the land as a partisan political institution.
Of course, Markey's definition of broken means that there are too many so-called conservative justices on the court, some of whom, by the way, tend to vote with the liberals an awful lot, keeping the court fairly moderate by most standards. We're going to dive into that here in just a couple of minutes. As Biden would say, here's more malarkey from Ed Markey.
Republicans seem to think that equal justice means justice for their purposes, their values, their causes. That is not equal justice. That is not the sacred duty of the Supreme Court.
Okay, so putting 4 more liberals on the court will create equal justice. That's how they're going to do it. The great irony of all this is Democrats are claiming some great injustice has occurred, and they plan to correct it by committing a far greater injustice. How's that for logic? The only point that I heard today as I watched this that was digestible was when Democrats talked about the Merrick Garland seat that came up at the end of Obama's second term. I can actually understand the frustration with that move. I think the anger about Merrick Garland is justified. And let's be honest, if Schumer pulled a move like that, like McConnell pulled, Republicans would be very mad as well. So that's fair. Also fair, though, is to point out that Merrick Garland appears to be very far to the left and wasn't impressive at all in his confirmation hearings to be Biden's AG. He said he had never thought about whether illegal border entry should be a crime while trying to get the job of attorney general in this country. So maybe the country dodged a bullet with Garland, and we have Neil Gorsuch now instead. A quick recap, 6 of the 9 current justices have been appointed by Republican presidents. The last 3, of course, appointed by Trump, which drove everybody nuts. And that seems to be the big problem for these Democrats. Congressman Mondaire Jones of New York, brand new, had a big day today, some serious exposure, but Jones also made some of the dumbest comments of the day.
I wish we did not have to stand here today. I wish we didn't have a far-right Supreme Court majority that is hostile to democracy itself. But here we are.
Yes, so hostile to democracy. Here is a look at some of the decisions from the Supreme Court in 2020 via the Los Angeles Times. One Supreme Court ruling extended the 1964 Civil Rights Act to protect LGBTQ employees. Another blocked President Trump's repeal of the Obama-era program that protects the so-called Dreamers. The Chief Justice also cast the deciding vote to strike down a Louisiana law limiting abortions. Wow, that right-wing Supreme Court really is destroying this country, isn't it? Boy, I can't even imagine. Protecting LGBTQ people, protecting some of the Obama stuff, and also protecting women's rights to an abortion, Obamacare. We clearly must pack this court and make it more liberal, right? Because it's just not liberal enough. Now, to be fair, Mondaire Jones is not really a serious politician. He just got power a few months ago. He's 33 years old. He's over there on the very far left with AOC and the rest of the clown show. He tweeted this out last night. This is an actual tweet from a congressman. Supreme Court expansion is infrastructure. It's real. Jones wasn't done, though. Of course, today he had to bring up race.
The Roberts Court gutted the crown jewel of the Voting Rights Act, which set the stage for what we are now seeing with SB 202 in Georgia and other racist attempts to suppress the right of Americans to vote in this country.
So he's talking about a 2013 decision there from the Supreme Court regarding the Voting Rights Act, a Supreme Court decision made long before Donald Trump, long before Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett. Again, the 33-year-old Mondaire Jones is clueless. Predictably, Republicans blasted this proposal. Here's House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
To totally take over another branch of government, to have control purely for a political basis.
Their legislation aims to expand the Supreme Court by 4 seats. That makes a real difference, 4 seats. Ironically, it's the same number needed to give Democrats a 1-seat edge and the President Biden the power to appoint 4 justices.
Good point. Senator Tom Cotton tweeted out, packing the Supreme Court would destroy the Supreme Court. The Democrats will do anything for power. And that's, of course, what this is all about. This is a far-left power play by far-left politicians. Mondaire Jones all but admitted that today.
It is simply a fact that Republican presidential candidates have lost the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections. Yet only 4 of the last 19 Supreme Court justices have been appointed by Democratic presidents.
Again, I maintain it's very easy to win the popular vote and elections when your entire platform as a party is just offering people free stuff. But that is a whole other conversation. Getting rid of the Electoral College is a big dream of the far left and motivation, of course, for packing the Supreme Court. Here are more of the radical bills House Democrats have put forward. This is the stuff they're trying to get done right now. Abolishing the Electoral College, of course, pathway to citizenship for illegals. Federalizing elections is the real crown jewel. And, of course, packing the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, Republicans in Congress don't have many tools to stop this radical mess of an agenda, if Democrats end the filibuster, of course. But as far as court packing goes, Nancy Pelosi, at least for now, is not having it.
Would you commit to bringing that bill to the floor?
No. I support the president's commission to study such a proposal, but frankly, I'm not. Right now, we're back. Our members, our committees are working. We're building putting together the infrastructure bill and the rest. I don't know that that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah, you want to really motivate Republicans in 2022? Pack the court. Small comfort to regular Americans from Pelosi, I would suppose. You should know, before Democrats were for packing the court, of course, they were against it. We're going to show you some examples here in a second. Take a look at this tweet from 2016 from, of course, Senator Ed Markey. It almost looks like the same podium from today, except it says we need 9. Didn't say we need 13. And in the past, the president was adamant about court packing. Here he was in 1983. Here's Joe Biden.
President Roosevelt clearly had the right to send to the United States Senate and the United States Congress a proposal to pack the court. It was totally within his right to do that. He violated no law. He was legalistically absolutely correct, but it was a bonehead idea.
Well, maybe Biden actually is still against this, but has lost control of his party, or maybe he never had control of the party to begin with. Here's Biden just last year coming out against all of those far-left agenda items I had just mentioned.
Speaking of those other candidates, several of them have proposed major structural reforms to our government and to our democracy. These include abolishing the Electoral College, expanding the size of the Supreme Court, setting term limits for justices, abolishing the legislative filibuster. Which, if any of these, do you support?
None.
That was the moderate president everybody voted for. We'll see if President Biden has evolved any further in the last year on some of these issues. It certainly seems like he's evolving pretty fast. It is interesting to see how the left quickly turned on 2 of their own, though, on this topic. Justice Stephen Breyer, a liberal justice, and the hero of the left, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, both were adamantly against court packing. Here is Justice Breyer last week.
Structural alteration motivated by the perception of political influence can only feed that latter perception.
And as we told you last week, the far left is already calling on Justice Breyer, again a liberal justice, to step down. He's not far left enough. This was the headline from LGBTQ Nation earlier this week. It's time for Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer to retire. The radical authors also said the quiet part out loud: we only have a very brief and uncertain window that we need to take advantage of. Yup. And maybe the most famous liberal justice, the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said this about court packing not long before she died just 2 years ago.
I have heard that there are some people on the Democratic side who would like to increase the number of judges. I think that was a bad idea when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt tried to pack the court.
There you have it. Very similar to what Justice Breyer was talking about. But the woke, of course, don't care. And clearly the far left pressure is really on this administration. For Biden to even have a commission studying this idea tells you a lot. It explains why Biden has become so woke here in just the last few months. He's not fit to be president. He is not leading. He is being led by some very radical people inside his own administration.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.